When you think of World War II shooters, the obvious franchises come to mind. Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, maybe even Battlefield. But did you know, just days before Call of Duty 1 launched on PC back in 2003, there was a little game called Hidden and Dangerous 2. It was developed by Illusion Softworks, the creators of the Mafia franchise. Now, Hidden and Dangerous 2 has many fans across the globe, and many people consider it to be a true classic World War II shooter, maybe even one of the best. But it's probably been overlooked as time has gone by, probably because of Call of Duty, and we all know what Call of Duty has turned into.
Playtime is over when Nikki drops in.
So I've played through the entire base game. I didn't play the expansion that was released shortly after, and I'm here to tell you why Hidden and Dangerous 2 is not one of the greatest World War II shooters of all time, but it is so close. And just before we get into it, just want to give a big thank you to the YouTube members and the Patreon members. You can check out my Patreon in the link below, or become a YouTube member by clicking the join button for just 99 cents. So what's Hidden and Dangerous 2 all about? It's a first and third person tactical shooter where you play as the SAS. Now you can go in and play all the missions solo or as a squad of 4 people, and these 4 people you control all of them. You can just press your tab key, I think by default, and switch which character you're actually controlling. The structure of the game is a bit different to traditional shooters. It doesn't follow an actual story throughout the entire game, which, to be honest, I don't like. I like games with like a good story. I'll always point to Brothers in Arms for a great World War II shooter that follows at least a certain story, at least for the squad and the characters throughout its entire like 3 main games. The structure of the game has pretty much 7 different campaigns, which each have like 1 to 6 missions. And before each campaign, you get a little intro movie to let you know what's going on and at least what the first mission is about. You then go on to select your squad of 4 people that you want to bring from a pool of nearly 30 soldiers, and these soldiers all have different names, of course. Unfortunately, you cannot rename any of them. I really like games like XCOM where you can name your characters so you get attached to them a little bit more. But each of these soldiers have different stats. You have health, which is, your health. Strength, which determines your carry weight. So yes, there is an inventory system to this game. Endurance, which is stamina. Shooting, which affects recoil and accuracy, I think. Stealth, which controls how quiet the soldier is, which means yes, the enemies can hear you based on your range of noise that you make and the actions you take. It also affects how quickly your stealth bar depletes, and when that empties, you get detected. First aid, how much health they can restore when doing first aid, and lockpicking, which is how quickly you can pick locks. You then grab your gear, and each campaign will have certain stuff available, and in certain missions during those campaigns you may get extra equipment made available to you. Get your mission briefing, and then you're in. Now, most of the missions are very sandbox-like. It's not a corridor or a completely guided experience, pretty much like Call of Duty or traditional Medal of Honor games. You get dropped into your entry point, you have your objectives, and now you need to choose to just get going. You can either go completely stealth or just go loud. Now, of course, going stealthy has its advantages. You can be all sneaky, golem-like, using your silence weapons to ambush people and make sure they don't alert any other nearby soldiers or set off any alarms. But going loud just works well as well. You get in a good position, just take out anyone you can. And one thing that I like about this game is that it doesn't have the traditional Call of Duty problem of infinite enemies. Each level has a set amount of enemies. They'll be patrolling in their patrol positions or chilling out in a building or something. But there are some missions where reinforcements do get called in, but it's not an infinite loop. And they'll come in on like a truck or something, and if you're in a good position, you'll be able to ambush that truck before they actually get to where they're being called into. So it's a good little design instead of just infinite guys coming out of a single door. And in these missions where you have multiple objectives, I'm pretty sure you can nearly tackle the objectives in any order in nearly every mission you get. There are some missions which are a tad bit more guided or require you to do the first objective before you can do the second one, but it does give you a lot more freedom in how you approach each mission. Now, as this is a tactical shooter, guns are deadly. Rifles can one-shot enemies to the chest, automatics take more shots and are generally inaccurate at range, so it's quite key that when you're giving your guys equipment to take into the campaign that you give everyone a bit of a different weapon. There's no point going all full rifles and then you're going into like a close quarters area because you'll get overwhelmed by SMGs, so take in a couple of SMGs or maybe bring in a light machine gun to give you that extra bit of firepower. So while the weapons are really deadly, your AI can take more shots. They're a bit stronger, but I think they still die to a headshot because I know I've died just at full health. I get shot once and then suddenly that soldier I was controlling was dead. And a well thrown grenade can just take all of you out. And since this is a tactical shooter, you're not going to get the grenade icon that you do in Call of Duty to tell you like there's a grenade over there. You need to be a bit more aware of what's going on. The gunplay though, it does feel a little bit stiff. I think it's really something that's just not aged well. Now, I've played through recently the original Call of Duty. I'll try to remember to link it in the description or in the top right corner of your screen. And the gameplay and gunplay of that just really holds up today. While the gunplay for Hidden and Dangerous 2, yeah, it's just not aged well at all. It's still really playable. It's just not as good as probably some other games that released back then, like the original Call of Duty, and especially stuff that we get today. But it's still really satisfying just to take out enemies. It's got some decent ragdoll physics in the game, so that always helps. One thing that I will knock the game for is the use of the bloom system for automatic weapons, and bloom is pretty much when you're aiming down sights at something, the bullets will just spread around where you're aiming instead of hitting where you're aiming. It makes, yeah, like I said, the automatic weapons earlier, inaccurate at range, and it can feel just really bad, yeah, using them at range. But in close quarters, the automatic weapons are really, really good. Now, I did say there is an inventory system, and when you take out enemies and go to their bodies, you can pick up the body and carry it around and drop it somewhere else. If you're trying to be stealthy, then yeah, you may want to move bodies and try to hide them out of the way because enemies will patrol around. But you can also loot every single bit of equipment that enemy was taking. They drop their weapon on the floor, so you can pick that up, get some ammo from their body, first aid, anything else, but strangely you can't loot their uniform. Movement is also more tactile. Now, it's one of the few games that handles the character speed by mouse scroll. Now, I know Tarkov uses that. Not sure about any other games, to be honest, off the top of my head. And it can feel a bit weird at first, but when you get used to it, it's really good. And I'd like to see this used in more games. It's just really nice to use. Stealth is a major part of this game, obviously, being that you're the SAS. And you're pretty much always in like stealth mode. It just depends on line of sight and sound for people detecting you or not. You have this little stealth meter. When that drops to 0, you get detected. It's pretty simple, really. Like I said, the stealth stat affects how quickly it drops. You do get a handful of stealth weapons available, the Dalal carbine and a suppressed Sten gun. You can also get some stealth kills with knives, but can be pretty difficult. Now, with the second mission in the first campaign, I had a moment where I was just like, so let me tell you what happened. So the first mission has you going into this enemy compound and ultimately finding an entrance to an underground facility. Once you've found it, you choose one soldier to go in alone with. This mission, you need to find evidence of research with aviation stuff, plant some explosives around, and then get out. Now, as I was sneaking around, taking some people out, I came across this sort of mini armory, had a couple of weapons, explosives, a German backpack, remember that, but I carried on my way, and I then found this guy just working on something on the wall, and I thought I would sneak up behind him, get my first proper knife stealth kill. But he heard me, and well, he just gave up and dropped his weapons. Now, the school of war I belong to is this one.
No prisoners! No mercy!
But yeah, he gave up and dropped his weapons, and I was going to kill him, but as I got close to him, I saw the interaction box appear around him, and then saw I could capture him. And then I captured him, and then I could interact with him and go into his inventory, and then I can actually loot his uniform and wear it. Now this mission, you can go in and go all guns blazing, you don't have to be stealthy, but this moment, disguising myself as the enemy was just a pure organic moment. It does actually tell you in the objectives and I think in the mission beforehand that you can take uniforms, but I didn't see it at all. And you can do this in pretty much any mission. All you need is just an enemy that surrenders, and enemies surrender based on, I think, how many people are dying near them and their rank. If they're a low rank soldier, they're more likely to surrender. So I carried on the mission wearing this guy's uniform. I had to find more aviation stuff and plant explosives. So I got deeper into the base, and then I got spotted? What the fuck? How do disguises even work? Do they even work? What's the point? Yeah, so before you Hidden and Dangerous 2 veterans put something in the comments below, let me explain to everyone else. So I did do something wrong, but what was it? So here I was with a German uniform and a German helmet or a cap, but I was carrying around a Delisle carbine, a very un-German weapon, and wearing a very non-German backpack. So you remember that German backpack from earlier? One little cool bit though is that since this wasn't the last mission in the campaign, in the next mission, that guy I sent on his little solo adventure was still wearing the German uniform, so I could have tried to complete the next mission completely solo as that guy in the disguise, but I didn't, I just went guns blazing. But it is moments like that in these sandbox missions which, yeah, makes the game great and awesome. You don't have to tackle nearly all the missions in a set way. I think there was really only one pure 100% stealth mission that would fail if you were spotted. You're generally just free to pick and choose how you approach and finish the mission. Like this one, you need to get to an airfield, you need to destroy some stuff, find some documents, speak to this guy, and you can try sneaking in. It's pretty hard, I never succeeded in sneaking in. Or you can just try getting all your people into a jeep you start with, get all your guys in and just go mental and drive around and try and take everyone out. Because you do need to get in stealthily or quickly, because if you don't, the pilots can get in their planes and start strafing you. Also, later reinforcements show up with a tank. How I did it was I kept my sniper and my rifleman back prone in a decent position, and I charged in with my jeep and another soldier on the gunner. I made sure to take out the pilot so the planes wouldn't take off and to kill as many as possible. And I got into the main building to clear it, to speak to the geezer I needed to, get into the armory in the back of the building for anti-tank weapons, kill more guys, and then destroy the tank when it showed up. Now I needed to then escape with a vehicle. I could have selected the Jeep or this flak truck, and I decided to choose the flak truck because there were planes flying around. Then this ties into the next mission, which is simply drive from one end of the mission or one end of the area to the next and survive. I was a bit disappointed that my flak truck didn't shoot at the planes that were flying around, but I made it through, and overall I think the truck was a good idea. There are some missions that break up the usual sort of sandbox style mission. There's this one where you're a tail gunner in a plane, or you can control multiple gunner positions. I didn't actually like this mission though, just because I couldn't figure out if the turret was like hit scan against the enemy planes or not. There's this stealth mission in a castle, and in this one you cannot be discovered at all. You need to find a woman, do some sneaky stuff, and then fight your way out. It's very Medal of Honor-esque, I would say. You have this stealth mission, which is quite unique. You start with some mini subs. You need to plant explosives on 2 ship hulls and then sneak aboard the smaller one, which is a minesweeper ship, to find an Enigma machine and get out. And if the alarm's raised, you fail the mission. But throughout that mission, you're wearing a diver suit, so you do move pretty slowly. It's just a good mission though. There isn't a tank mission. You would kind of expect there to be like a standout tank mission, but you will discover that on some missions you can find tanks that can be driven, which, you know, adds to the sandbox style of mission design. You could be playing a mission a few times and complete it in many different ways, but playing the game can be really frustrating. If you are going to play this, F4 is quick save. Doesn't tell you that in the keybinds, so yeah, there you go, quick save, and quick save a lot. Now the sandbox nature of the game means that unexpected things can happen. Maybe you don't move quick enough in a mission after engaging the enemy and they get into nearby tanks. But if you was quick enough, you could get into that tank yourself. The main reason that this game can be really frustrating is the AI. Now you can play the entire campaign solo as just like one guy, but I'd recommend playing with a squad first. Generally your squad are fine. They call out enemy positions and those positions get highlighted on your compass. You can give them various orders like follow, hold position, take cover, move forward, contextual action commands such as loot someone, interact with this thing or some doors, or get into a vehicle. And there's various like rules of engagement you can give them, such as fire at will, hold fire, only return fire, or fire on my command. And you can give them some stealth version of these commands, but I'm not really sure what they did because I didn't really use them. But they can be just really, really dumb. And when you're going through corridors or tight buildings, they can just get in your way so much, and you'll find yourself taking control of the person who's blocking your way just to move him out of your way to then control the original guy to then move forward. Also, they don't react to enemy grenades at all. The amount of times I've lost squad members because, yeah, they just didn't react to a grenade and it just exploded and killed them was far too often. And they can also just make some really bad like pathfinding decisions, like you'll be inside a building firing out the windows and one of your guys will just decide to take the door outside the building and then just get gunned down by multiple enemies. You need to quick save quite often in this game. But in combat, your AI can be good enough, like they'll take out enemies quite easily, but yeah, sometimes they are just so stupid and annoying. The enemy AI, they're decent enough. They can use cover effectively. If there's no cover around, they'll go prone to take shots at you. But yeah, they can just be stupid as well. So ultimately, what does Hidden and Dangerous 2 offer? Well, it's a very, very solid, mostly enjoyable tactical World War II shooter. It's got some great missions, some great moments, a great sandbox structure in a globe hopping SAS like action adventure. It's really quite a unique World War II shooter, and I think if the AI was better, it would be a much better game. And I think it's a shame that this series didn't continue after this main entry. It did have an expansion, but there was no actual sequel. I think it sold pretty well for a PC only game, and it could be that one of the reasons why the game series didn't continue is because the devs' next game was Mafia, and I think that went on to be quite successful. So the next classic game I'll be looking at will be Call of Duty 2. So subscribe if you don't want to miss out on that and what my thoughts will be, and check out this playlist of other classic games that I've looked at. And thank you to the YouTube members and Patreons for supporting the channel. You can become a YouTube member by clicking the join button below from just 99 cents, or check out the Patreon link. Thank you for watching. Give the video a like if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, and I'll see you on the next one.